Welcome, welcome. It's a brand new series on the RugbyAnalyst channel. I'm Ollie Little. You guys might recognize me. I've been on the channel a couple of times with Rich, but also followers of the Rugby Paper podcast will definitely recognize me and know me a little bit better. The podcast is taking a break ahead of the Lions series, so there's a bit of a new series today. I'll also be appearing a bit more with Rich on Lions discussion as that series approaches. But this new series, I'm going to sit down a couple of times a month with a player you'll probably have seen on your TV screens. In essence, just get to know them. Obviously, every player's got a story, and it's quite nice to bring those stories your guys' way. Today, we got someone kicking us off with a bang. He's had a pretty ultimate breakthrough season with Exeter. I think that's fair to say. Won to try against Bordeaux. Cornish Pirates probably have nightmares about him at this point. But Paul BROWN-BAMPOE, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to be here, Ollie. Thanks for inviting
Yeah,
me.
lovely to meet you. The name Cornish Pirates must just warm the heart, to be honest.
It does a little bit. Yeah, I think it was 10 tries in 3 games, so I'll definitely take that. Can't wait to play them
Unbelievable.
again.
What is it? Four, 3, and 3, working backwards.
So the most recent was four, yeah, and
Four.
then the other three are hat tricks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it and what once you get a mojo against a team like that, we've seen it. We see it a lot in football. Luis Suarez, I think, loves scoring against Arsenal, for example. Drogba certainly loves scoring against us. Do you just like lick
Mm.
your lips and think, okay, I've got the up on these guys. Get the ball in my hands.
Yeah, I think obviously past history definitely like leads to a bit more confidence, but I think maybe the defensive style, defending quite narrow compared to other teams that we've played against, does benefit me as a way because it gives me a lot more space, and yeah, opportunity to take the edge around people. So yeah,
10 in 3. That's crazy. And look, obviously you're 22 now, right? And you've had something of,
yes,
an up and coming season. Was it the kind of season you saw coming? Presumably you've graduated from Durham now.
I just finished my masters, and yeah,
Congratulations.
a couple about 6 weeks ago,
Oh
handed
wow.
in my
Okay.
disc.
Okay. So
So it's a very recent.
all this started happening before you'd actually graduated.
Yeah, I was midway through my master's year when I played Exeter University in the varsity game at Sandy Park,
Yeah.
and that was what I got scouted from. So I moved down, and basically I wasn't even midway through. I was probably a quarter of the way through. So I still had like another year left to complete my masters, and yeah, so did that alongside playing rugby.
Was who scout? I'm guessing Rob wasn't there.
I'm not entirely sure who it was. I know
Okay.
Gareth, who's the current Exeter uni coach, like had a couple of good words to say about me in the past. So shout out to him. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure who it was that pushed the needle.
We'll get into that. I said to you before we started recording, I'm a Cambridge man, so I've got less than fond memories of playing against Durham.
Yes.
First of all, how did you feel going into sort of the season this year? You're approaching the end of your university degree. You've got the contract. Presumably, it was not a long-term contract just yet. If I know professional contracts early on, so how did you feel
Mm.
coming into preseason in terms of this being a sort of such a big year for you?
Yeah, I think first of all, contractually, they offered me something that would give me confidence and time to grow because I think they knew that I needed to adjust to men's rugby. But going into the season, I always had a sense of urgency. Obviously, playing at Plymouth for like the half of the season that I joined, the first half of the season that I joined last season, was great and a building block. But going into preseason, I was pretty determined to make that chief squad, and I definitely felt like I had it within me, but I knew that it was going to take a lot of extra sessions, a lot of extra skills. Yeah, basically, I just need to upskill myself. But I kind of felt like because this was the first time, as in the preseason that I was going into, would have been the first time that I'd spent a whole summer solely focusing on rugby
Yeah.
and not dossing around playing basketball, like going on holiday or something like that. Like I kind of felt like the trajectory of my improvement would be pretty high if I committed to it. And yeah, I just bought into it. And luckily, the end outcome was I was starting that first. Oh, actually, I was on the bench that first game, and then had a decent run of games in the first half of the season.
Yeah. I mean, what are you this? You're like 15 tries this season or something like that.
I think it's either 15 or 16. I can't remember what the
Okay.
number is, but yeah, yeah.
You're not one of those. I've spoken to wingers who like know exactly how many tries they've scored in exactly how many games. You're not one of those.
No, because I like to refresh before every game,
Nice.
and not base my mindset on past performance. So yeah,
That's a good mentality. I mean, the sort of moment, and I know it probably wasn't a game that you might personally remember it somewhat fondly, but that game against Bordeaux,
yeah,
that try really reminded me of when Henry Arundel first broke onto the scene with his 90. I mean, his was almost 100 meters because he ended up running sideways for the first 20.
yeah, yeah.
But you had that of 95-meter try against Bordeaux. What was the
Mm,
fallout from that? There was a clip that went viral. Obviously, you're playing against two of the best wingers in the world as well. And obviously, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
everyone was talking about Peno and LBB after that game, but all
yeah, yeah.
everyone was talking about you. So how did you sort of handle that sort of wave?
I think ultimately it was a massive confidence boost for me, knowing that I could perform against world class winners like that. Um, but the funniest thing about that game and what happened was the week before I was playing for Plymouth Albion on loan.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
So it was like I think going on loan after, it was only for one game, but going on loan after playing Premiership rugby, like it put another chip on my shoulder. Like I already had that chip on my shoulder, and I just knew that like this game against probably the toughest opposition we'll face all season was like, if I performed in it, would basically change the trajectory of my season. I think they were very much looking at me from a developmental side and kind of like slowing. Um, yeah, of course, we're good. They're very much looking at me from like a development perspective as in Chiefs, and probably were expecting me to take a bit longer to go on the front lines for the team. So I really targeted that game, and the fallout from that game, just elevated my confidence a bit more, made me feel like I can actually do it. I can throw some punches with the big boys. So it was more like internal confidence rather than getting caught up with the media hype.
Was it a game you were intimidated by going into? I mean, Bordeaux have a pack that weighs a ton, and like I say,
Yeah,
they're two of the deadliest finishers in world rugby, and they obviously put a number on you,
yeah,
Sten, as well. But was it a game
yeah,
you were
100%.
intimidated by as well?
Obviously I was super super nervous. That's probably the most nervous I've ever been going into a game. But for me, I just need to have a chat with my mum pre-game, and she's a good hype man, to be fair. So and that sorts me out. And a chat with my old sports coach from school, and he sorts me right out too. So like, yeah, that was kind of how I handled those
Yeah,
nerves.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to be fair, it probably sets up running 95 meters in the first 10 minutes is a good way to settle the nerves a little bit.
Yeah, good way to get into the game.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, even if BLBRE runs rings around me for the rest of the game, at least I have this.
Yeah, for sure.
What was it like playing against the two of them? I mean, this must have been a month before the Six Nations started, or maybe
Yeah,
even less than that. And obviously LBB went and did what he did. But
yeah.
what was it like playing against the two of them?
I think more so the nerves were about facing the entire Bordeaux team, not just about facing their two wingers. And
Yeah,
I don't like creating mental blocks around individuals. And I'm not that type of player that will look into like past history of what the player's done and whatever. Obviously, you respect them and you know what they're capable of, but I wasn't looking at them thinking, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I'm so scared. Like I was just like, I'm gonna have to do something here. I'm gonna have to pull something out of the bag.
yeah.
So yeah, that was it really. I didn't really think too much more about it.
Even your second try, you got a nice little don't argue in on LBB when he came off the bench, didn't you?
Yeah, a little hand off to the face. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. He's probably forgotten that by now. I think he's done
Oh, 100%. No, he's reached crazy heights. So yeah, respect to
something.
him for that.
He has, and look, obviously a difficult season for Exeter, but one area that you're not short of talent on is the back three.
Mm.
Tomo Flaherty, Josh Hodge, you've got Ollie
Tom
Wood.
of the sale. I think you're thinking Tommy Wyatt.
Oh, sorry, Tommy Wyatt, of course.
Yeah,
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 Tommy Wyatt, Josh Hodge, Ollie Woodburn, and obviously Manny Faye Waboso. What's it like, sort of being a part of that cohort? I know Manny's had his injuries, which is, probably, he's probably a guaranteed starter in the team when he's fit. If we're being honest, so
yeah.
he has made room a little bit. But what's it like being a member of that cohort?
I think it's actually been super positive for my growth, purely just because like when you're around that caliber of athlete, like you naturally like elevate to their level of play. Um, and each of the people that you've listed all have very well. Obviously, speed is like a strength that we all share, but they all have very different elements to their game that like I've kind of tried to pick up off. So, for example, like an Ollie Woodburn is great under high ball,
Yeah,
and also like is a great link player and puts people in holes and stuff, and that's a real strength of his.
yeah.
Um,
I mean
Josh,
that comes from time as well, right? He's obviously, played as many games as he's played. So that's
yeah,
very much a
that's
part
true.
of your game that you can keep developing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Josh, like backfield management, kicking is an absolute strength of his game, and like I like to pick his brains on all of that type of thing. And obviously, like Manny, Manny does what he does. So um, yeah, it just creates a bit of magic every now and again. So like I get to watch that, and it kind of all logs in my brain, and yeah, I just like to yeah add some of those attributes to my game. So yeah.
Do you like, I mean, you've probably heard the Manny comparisons a little bit in terms of,
Mm,
you being a similar age profile. Rob Baxter has a habit of unearthing wingers. The reason I said Tom O'Flaherty is he did it with Tom O'Flaherty a few
yeah.
years ago. Do you like the Manny comparisons, or are you don't want to be Manny Boso 2.0, you want to be Paul Brown-BAMPOE 1.0?
Yeah, that's obviously true, but ultimately, I'm flattered to be compared to a player that's represented the country, and if well, hopefully he's fit and ready for a Lions tour. Like,
Yeah.
could be could be a Lions player in the future. But yeah, saying that, like, I definitely want to set out my own path. I definitely want to create my own legacy, and have an image that is uh, you know different to Manny. And I think I'm doing that. And when he's fit, and hopefully we're both fit at the same time. Like you saw in the Bristol game, we got two
Yeah.
tries apiece. So like, um, all that stuff kind of pushes us because me and Haji have a little try count going on, and I'm sure when Manny's fit, like the same will be the case. Um, but yeah, great admiration for the guy, but yeah, I am my own person, and hopefully that shows in the future.
Who's winning out of you and Josh Hodge?
I think it's me if
Yeah,
we count Prem Cup tries as well.
yeah, we count that. We definitely count that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I when on the podcast we had Ollie Woodburn on, and when I asked him, he said that the speed tests that you guys do at Exeter are actually quite interesting.
Mm.
I feel like Josh Hodge is the quickest, but tell me if I'm wrong. Top end, I think acceleration, you're well up there, and so is Manny. But I wonder if top end speed, Josh has you.
I think speed wise, the only person that I'm really competing with in the squad is Hodgie.
Yeah.
He's a lot lighter than me, as a caveat, but
And don't get me wrong, I'd
um,
rather stand in front of him than in front of you.
um, to be fair, this week in training, like there was a ball kicked like deep into the opposition end, and we had a chance to like test the wheel, see who would get there first. Um, and I think I definitely his speed endurance probably is better than mine, but my acceleration is definitely up there with his, maybe a tad better. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does it compare to Manny's as well? Because Manny's an acceleration merchant, right? And then top end speed
Mm.
not quite so high.
Manny's quick. Manny's quick, but I think I'm quicker.
You've got to settle that score at some point, surely.
Yeah, we do. Or we could just keep it in the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, you two are cut from the same cloth in so many ways. I mean, you're a bright lad. He's obviously incredibly bright as well. You're an engineer, right?
yeah. But I'm an engineer through my bachelor's, but actually I studied finance and investment for my master's, and had a brief stint in investment banking. But a few months, so like that's more of like the line that I'm going, that maybe I might go into post rugby.
That would
So
be,
yeah,
yeah. How was it? Was JPM, wasn't it?
yes, it was. Yeah,
How was that? Presumably you
yeah.
didn't sleep for 6 weeks, basically.
Oh, it was intense. It was really intense. Yeah, I probably averaged maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep, but it's a really weird thing, that world, because obviously it's super competitive, especially when you're interning as well. So like actually, like, although it was tough, I was so driven by the competition that I actually really enjoyed it. Like, and yeah, it was tough. There were tough moments, but I look back on it very, very fondly. Yeah.
It's funny. My obviously, well, you'll know what my day job is, because you and I
Yes.
are mutual contact, so we obviously come across it a lot. The number of ex-professional athletes we come across is so high because
Mm.
you know that sort of mentality of having the drive, putting in the hours, and it's a lifestyle, right? Although
Yeah.
your downtime is still your on time. In essence, you're paid to rest, you're paid to do rehab, you're paid to stretch, and that's a lifestyle that translates pretty well because you kind of are constantly on the clock in a way.
Like it's all based on like systems, whether you're clocking in at Chiefs training or, yeah, as you said, like doing rehab, like just being consistent. And yeah, exactly the same kind of as the corporate world.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Keeping up your conditioning would or your strength levels or anything would be tricky. I would imagine if you're working, 120 hours a week.
it was borderline impossible because like I'd be getting back from work at, I don't know, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
or 2 a.m. most days. And then you kind of have a choice of, okay, do I want to gym or exercise, or do I want to get enough sleep so I can be functional
Yeah.
at work the next day? And I definitely gymmed a lot less than I would have liked to in that world. Like, in fact, gym was like a fun thing that I do on a Friday night after work. Like it was just, yeah, it was tough to give that up or not do it as
Yeah.
much. But
It's not a
yeah,
lifestyle that's for everyone. And it doesn't help that you basically when you're you get Deliveroo every day more or less as well because there's no
yeah,
time to go home and cook your own food. So you're like,
yeah.
what on Uber Eats or Deliveroo is healthy and can actually
Oh,
be sort of softer.
I wasn't thinking about what was healthy when I got told that we got free Uber Eats for dinner. I started off on the Five Guys and the Nando's. Like that was I lived off that for maybe the first month. Then I started to like feel bad, like just
Yeah.
I felt groggy, and then I started hitting up salads. I never thought I'd be that guy, but yeah, I
Did
switched
you
to that in the end.
did you gain weight or losing weight during your internship?
I think I lost weight. Yeah,
Okay. Just because
I can't.
yeah, sleep and not recovering enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there you go. You heard it here. Five Guys is the way to lose weight.
And not sleeping.
And not sleeping. Yeah, good. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And so that's the plan post university. Going back to uni, how was Durham? I've been there once. My sister goes to Durham, and I went to watch her in a boxing match. Because
Mm.
student fight night was probably just starting out when you were at Durham.
Yeah, it began for maybe a couple of years. I loved it.
Yeah, worst thing I've ever watched.
Really?
Well, watching your little sister get punched in the face, you're like, absolutely not. I want this to
Did
be
she
over.
win?
She won. She won.
Oh, come on, let's go. That's
Split
good.
decision. She cried. I cried. We all cried. So what was the ends well, but round one when she got hit for the first time, I was like, I do not want to be here. But yeah, how was Durham?
I loved it. I loved it. I think it was the perfect step for me, um, like from so many different perspectives. Like obviously the academic point of view, really strong.
Yeah,
And then sporting wise, I just come off like I think I'd played for England counties the like spring beforehand. So and I think that's like an aspirational England pathway. So it's not really like a part of the academy system. So
yeah,
I was in that place where like, oh, okay, I'm kind of in between like deciding whether I'm actually good enough at this to pursue it. And going to Durham just like gave me a lot of well, first of all, like the training and the coaches were incredible.
yeah.
And then at the same time I got a lot of the word is escaping me. Coverage, like media coverage through Bucks Media and stuff like that. Which also helped, get my name in a few mouths and stuff like that. So and socially, Durham's actually really great. So yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I went to the one night I went to Babylon. Not
Yes.
not the place to. There was a bloody leak in the roof like all night. So on the main part of the when you come in, everyone's just getting soaked, and I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
having not wanted to be there watching my sister box, I now don't want to be here either.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, it's not usually that bad. I think maybe you can win at a bad time. Saturday night after fight night, it's always a bit iffy. But on
Yeah,
a Wednesday night post like Bucks game, everyone's come back from playing sport,
yeah,
and Durham's so like small. Like if you play a sport, like you'll probably know everyone else that
yeah,
plays for Durham at a sport, and you're all catching up on like, oh, how'd it go? Like,
yeah.
and it basically just felt like you knew everyone, and everyone was pretty friendly. So yeah, it was good.
I probably just went on the wrong night then. I'll have to give it. I'll give it
Yeah,
another go at
maybe
some point. Although the drive up isn't
give
nice.
it a try on a rainy Wednesday night in November
Rainy Wednesday night.
post DRFC.
I'll go watch your old team then. Did you get what
Yeah.
you call it at Durham? Is it a palatinate? I don't even know how to.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
that
a platinum. Yeah.
palatinate, sorry, and that's something that you get if you what represent a professional sports team at what during your time at Durham.
Yeah. Or like I guess England students, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
So did you get one?
Yes, I did. I did. Proud owner of my half and my full platinum.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you actually get for it?
You get a really nice tie. And then a certificate from the dean. And I wore that tie to my graduation. So yeah.
Oh, that's
So
sick.
yeah.
Which tie? I mean, presumably
Mm.
there's a half tie and there's a full tie as well.
Yeah. So the half is just like half platinum, a shade of purple, and half like
Yeah,
silver, and then the full is just like fully purple
full
with the
purple.
Durham
Oh, that's
crest
quite
on it.
cool.
Yeah.
It's not that you just get half a tie for the half one.
Nah, nah.
Full purple must look pretty nice. You were St. John's College, right?
Yes, I was. I
Did
was,
you
yeah.
did you play for them at all, rugby wise? Because if so, that must have been fairly terrifying for the poor fresher lining up wing opposite you who hasn't played rugby since he was 13.
Unfortunately, you can't play for your college once you played DU. But I had a couple of mates that played college rugby, and they were constantly on to me like, oh yeah, like please come and play, please come and play. Um,
Like
Maybe
who
if I'm back for old boys, I might.
realistically, who's gonna know?
Yeah, true, true. I should have. I
Well,
should have taken the chance.
I think you should. I mean, if you come back for old boys, that's even more brutal. To be fair.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely could play in the old boys team. So
Yeah,
yeah, see how
yeah.
that goes.
How did you find? I mean, you're obviously on Exeter's radar post varsity, so maybe your professional aspirations maybe were more crystallized then. But obviously at university, you make groups of mates and they're wanting to potentially go out 3, 4 times a week, and you're
Mm,
trying to sort of, enjoy yourself once or twice a week as every rugby player does after games, but also leave that
yeah,
certainly while you're playing DU as well. University,
yeah.
everyone treats it almost like you're professional athletes, certainly when
Mm,
you're on the clock, although you're not on the clock for the same amount of time. So how did you juggle that balance?
yeah. But I think when you're playing first team for DU, like you spend a lot of time with your teammates, and they become like your closest friends. Almost, it's almost like family level because like obviously you meet a couple of weirdos here and there, but you got to love them for who they are. And you spend so much time with them, they do become like family. So I guess that forms like a bit of like an incubator where you all adhere to the same lifestyle. You'll probably go out on the Wednesday night, and then occasionally some people were like, oh, let's run it back for Saturday night too or Friday night. But like I think everyone's super committed, and like we had a pretty good call out culture of people who were getting it wrong. Um, so luckily I never fell victim to an intervention.
Okay.
But yeah, that we definitely had that sort of thing in place. Um, yeah.
What did an intervention look like? Captain pulls you to one side and says you got to dial back or something.
Yeah, get off the beers, lose some weight. um, yeah, captain or like our S&C coach Jamie would get onto you, like
Yeah,
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mad.
Definitely.
So were you ever intervening, or that was never you?
No, I was a model athlete my entire
Excellent.
time. I also don't drink that much, so I think that probably helps. That probably helps my case. But more than beers, I actually have always really really liked gym. Like that's just always been like a massive like passion of mine. So I guess alcohol and gym don't really go hand in hand
Oh,
most of the
gin.
time.
I thought you said gin.
Oh, gym. Yeah, not gym. Yeah, yeah. I've since I was 16, like that kind of just became a massive, massive passion of mine.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like if I wasn't passionate about that, I don't think rugby would have been on the cards because I went from a very scrawny kid to playing on a bit of timber. So
I've
yeah,
seen the early videos, certainly when you were, you playing some sevens, even when you were playing sevens, 2 or 3 years back, there's
Mm.
obviously some size that you've been able to pack on. Is that partly mandated by Exeter telling you, you'll be better if you're hovering or more dangerous if you're hovering around 100, 102 or whatever you're weighing now if you don't lose your
Yeah.
speed? That is because, you know, I interview so many people. Ollie Lawrence, for example, I've interviewed him. He hates the gym,
Mm.
absolutely hates the gym. Then Manu Tuolangi and Ollie Lawrence has been made, he was told to lay off the gym because he loved it too much. He was getting too big. So
Yeah.
you often told, okay, don't get too big. You're a winger. Remember, don't lose your speed, etc.
To be honest, I feel like I've always, or since playing from uni rugby, I came in at a size that like they were very happy with. So luckily,
Yeah,
like no one's ever really tried to make me any heavier or any lighter. And like in terms of like physical fitness, like the fact that before I was part of any semi-professional professional sports setup, I very much took that into my own hands of how I wanted my body to be composed and stuff like that, and my speed, all that type of thing. It's been led by me, and luckily, my SSC coaches have been happy with that, and I like taking ownership of it a little bit.
yeah.
Obviously, I'm working with SSC coaches, but I do like being in control of that myself as well.
What type of training is the one that like? Are you enjoying chasing the numbers? Do you enjoy your speed work, your cardiovascular endurance work? What floats your boat the most?
So when I was at Durham, my favorite gym day was Saturday, and that was like our strength focus day. So I guess like lower reps, just getting the numbers up, like that was very satisfying. Love a bit of a back squat.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite exercise. So like yeah, just getting the numbers up on that. And then probably joint with that, like I love a power day. I started like cleaning, like hand cleaning at Durham, and like I was so bad at it at the start, like honestly terrible, had no coordination. But as soon as I like picked it up and got fluency with it, like that's become another one of my favorites. And yeah, anything power, speed stuff, I love too. Um, Jumping, all that sort of stuff.
I think Henry Pollock's squat and bench press numbers went public the other day, and he was 140 for two bench and 230 for two squats. Do you want to go public with yours?
Mine are better. But I don't need to disclose numbers. I'm not here to motivate anyone. I can keep that to myself.
Okay, all we know is he's stronger than Henry Pollock.
Yeah.
Stronger at both. Yeah, that's impressive for a winger. And squat's your number one, yeah? Is
It's my
that
favorite.
box or ass to grass?
A mixture of both. Like I think we kind of change it up throughout the season,
Yeah,
but currently I'm on a box squat.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, quite often you'll limit range of motion, won't you? Especially as a winger to get that sort of because you're never in an ass to grass position like a squat.
Yeah. Yeah,
A prop
exactly.
might be when they're scrummaging.
But I do like doing kind of ask the grass like from time to time, maybe like in the off season, just so that I know that no one can really come at me and be like, oh, he's a hot
Yeah,
squatter, he's
half
a hot
pressure.
squatter. Yeah, exactly. Go a bit traditional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably a little bit humbling though, given that it's a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
relative to what you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so humbling when I get back to it. What about you? What do you do? Are you big on gym, big on sports?
Yeah, I'm a power lifter.
Okay, oh nice.
So, I mean, I asked your numbers slightly because I wanted to know how they compare to mine. I reckon we're close. Obviously, I squat ass. I don't do box squats. I only squat ass to grass.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also stronger than Henry Pollock, but
Okay.
who's
Ah,
comparing?
yeah, exactly. Respect to you for that.
Nah, likewise, mate. Listen, we'd love to ask you a couple of things. I'll give you time to think about this first of all. The very last question I'm going to ask you is your Lions back three.
Mm,
We'll get to that. So have a think about that. But very, very quickly, in terms of the era of the rugby winger we're in at the moment, Cheslin Colby, Louis Bielbieri, Curtly Aronsa, even Will Jordan, Max
mm,
Jorgensen is tearing up in the Southern Hemisphere at the moment as
yeah.
well. It's the era of the small winger, or certainly the era of the absolute speedster. How
Mm.
do you feel about that? Obviously, don't get me wrong, you're quick, but you're also powerful, and you run through people probably more than some of these guys do. So how do you feel about that in terms of the landscape perhaps having shifted from the era where Nemani Nadolo, Joe Thockner-Singer, Julian Surveyor were sort of on the international stage, and you don't really see that quite so much anymore. I'm not placing you in either category, by the way. I'm just sort of
Mm.
asking about how the landscape's changed.
Yeah, how do I feel about that? I think just like any trend, it's cyclical. And obviously, these players have, you know, shared great attributes that make them unique, agility, speed. But I think as a winger, like the one thing that has never been underestimated or undervalued is speed. And you can have speed at my size. Necessarily, I don't necessarily have like a strong opinion on that. Definitely, like I know that when I'm coming up against someone who's maybe shorter and more agile, like I need to also work on my agility work so that I can keep up with their changes of direction and also impose that on them a bit. So like I think when I look at that model or stereotype of winger, I think what comes into my head is, well, why can't I have those attributes? Like maybe that might mean that I have to be a little bit stronger in
Yeah.
certain areas or physically in certain areas, but like I can also have those attributes as well at my size. And if I could have that along with strength and power, then what's stopping me,
No,
basically?
that's such an admirable mentality around it as well. Who's your favorite winger in World Rugby at the moment?
All Jordan.
Paul Jordan. Okay,
Yeah.
one of the names I mentioned. That guy's a freak, to be fair. And very finally, Lions back three. I don't know if you've got it to hand. Let's presume Manny's fit.
Okay, Manny's in there for me.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that.
Freeman's in there for me.
Suppose you're missing
Or
a fullback then, unless you're putting Freeman at fullback.
sorry,
You're missing a fullback unless you're putting
yeah,
Todd.
I'm missing a
Todd.
fullback. I'm trying to decide who I want my fullback to be. Um, oh, his name's escaping me.
Nationality.
Um, Kinghorn.
Kinghorn. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be mine as well. I
yeah,
think Manny's obviously against the clock. So
yeah.
he comes back and gets a few games under his belt, but
Mm,
could be a late call up.
yeah,
Paul, mate, so great to chat. Let's stay in touch, and
absolutely.
you're always welcome back on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.